Award shows are a complete and utter joke because usually we see actors and directors patting themselves on the back, congratulating each other for doing their jobs, and the Game Awards really is no different. We as gamers do not truly have a voice that counts at this event, and it's just a big marketing opportunity. And now the Game Awards is changing the way that they're doing Game of the Year because they're saying expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are all eligible in all categories, which has led to a lot of backlash. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, the Game Awards is already a kind of controversial thing because half the time your favorite games do not get nominated. It's like last year, Hogwarts Legacy was not in the running for any category because of political reasons, because the jury who ends up picking the games is filled with access media and developers, people who at the end of the day are, kind of paid off. But now we're finding out that they're changing the way that the Game Awards is working because they put out this statement saying the Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories if the jury deems the creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination. Factors such as the newness of the content and its price and value should be taken into consideration. Should be, doesn't mean it has to be. The jury can pick whatever they want. And this to me also is a controversial thing. Now, first of all, I absolutely love Elden Ring. It's my favorite game of all time now. I loved Shadow of the Erdtree. I thought it was phenomenal. They're clearly changing the rules in order to be able to nominate Shadow of the Erdtree, and I'm sure Shadow of the Erdtree is going to sweep this year. But in a time when we are seeing so many more remakes and remasters because developers are so lazy and don't want to invest money in new properties and new content, they're pumping out these, remakes and remasters, and they are realizing they're not getting the accolades that they want. They can't put out Game of the Year editions because, it didn't actually win Game of the Year, things like that. And while I absolutely love Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree, I just don't particularly think that this is fair. I do think that if you are a developer who has created entirely new content, that is what should be allowed in these categories. And yeah, sure, the Game Awards could have made a separate category, maybe the best game of the past 5 years, best game of the decade, best expansion of the year, things like that, so that games can still be recognized. But to put something like a expansion against a full-blown title that released this year that was amazing, like Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade, just isn't particularly fair in my viewpoint, and clearly a lot of other gamers agree, as this has faced a lot of backlash. Now, I'm just happy that I guess Elden Ring is going to sweep yet again because it was so fantastic. But on the flip side, I'm sad knowing that games like, again, Wukong and Stellar Blade are going to be overshadowed now by an expansion. And yeah, sure, the expansion was like 40 plus hours, depending on how long you were playing and how much you were exploring, things like that. And it could have been a full-blown game if they really wanted it to be. But on the flip side, I just don't think it's fair, and a lot of other people clearly agree. Now, before I get into talking about how gamers feel, just look at this. They talk about if the jury deems it worthy. Usually, every single year, they release the list of jury members, which typically consists of like IGN, Polygon, PC Gamer, Inverse, VentureBeat. This is a list from last year. And of course, the jury's decision counts for 90% of the votes compared to 10% for the popular vote. But they didn't release one this year, probably because they realize we are in the middle of Gamergate 2, ethics in journalism is being questioned, and people do not trust the access media. So they decided not to release this list, which is mighty suspicious given they have even more power this year. And if you do not already know, the advisory board is A board that helps guide and advance the mission of the Game Awards. They say the board is not involved in the selection of award nominees or winners and learns of the results of voting at the same time, but it's filled to the brim with the largest people within the industry, like Activision's president, AMD CEO, EA's president, Kojima. Epic Games doesn't even have somebody here. Phil Spencer, Doug Bowser. So we're talking about the highest level people within the industry at these companies that is a part of this. But it looks mighty suspicious that this year, when they're changing everything, they didn't actually give us a list of jury members, but people are pointing and laughing. The jury, and it's filled with clowns. This is pretty much an excuse for Elden Ring. It is. And again, I loved Shadow of the Erdtree. I love Elden Ring. I'm glad a trash game like Veilguard isn't going to win, but my God, it is not fair to developers who have created wholly new products. That's stupid. There should be a category for DLCs and expansions. I 100% agree. I think that that would be perfectly fine. Terrible, not surprising, but terrible DLC should be its own award. Remakes and remasters its own. Including them in all categories is an insult to basically any fully new game. All this for Elden Ring to have 2 Game of the Years to its name. Yeah, I mean, it's clear that this is the reason why they decided to change the rules, but this is what happens when you also have an award show that is not based on the opinions of gamers. They could have months ago put out polls and questionnaires saying, how do you feel about this decision? They would have seen all of this major backlash and they wouldn't have gone ahead with it, but they did not do that. Now, people are saying cringe, and then it's the screen that says, please wrap it up to the people that were on stage. I believe that was last year. Freaking funny. There should just be a DLC award, to be honest. Yeah, look at Phantom Liberty, Blood and Wine, Shadow of the Erdtree. I think that these are all fantastic, do not get me wrong, but they should have had their own categories. People are also saying things like this just isn't a fair decision. If DLC expansions win Game of the Year, cancel the whole show. I'm dead ass hugely disagree with this move. Add categories, have honorable mentions and shout outs, sure, but to have it so new games can be eclipsed in the only categories they could win by DLCs and expansions of existing games, craziness. Absolute craziness. Yeah, I mean, I do not agree with this either. At least something terrible like Veilguard isn't going to win. At least we will actually see another decent game winning this year. But on the flip side, it's just not fair to all of the developers out there who have created something brand new. And of course, I do not think that the backlash is going to get any better. People already, point and laugh at game awards like this and call them cringe and say that it's absolutely ridiculous that the gamers' votes only count for 10% in total and the jury is 90% when the jury is filled with paid shills. So, people already do not take this event seriously, but now it's looking even worse for them. I, of course, will be streaming it next month, as I do every single year, but they are facing some major backlash now. And if they had actually listened to gamers, the very people that they're making these shows for, then maybe they would have actually had taken our feedback into consideration and they wouldn't be facing so much scrutiny yet again, but that's definitely not the case. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.